Welcome to Off the Syllabus, the podcast where higher education meets real-world ambition. This is not your typical university talk. Here we go beyond grades and course outlines to explore the choices, challenges, and careers that actually matters. Whether you're a student wondering, what should I study? A parent navigating an unfamiliar future? Or a curious mind thinking, what's next? This series is for you. Each episode, we sit down with leading thinkers, educators, and professionals to unpack what learning really looks like when it's not on the exam paper. In our very first episode, we are starting strong with a guest who has built brands, redesigned degrees, and led transformations from boardrooms to classrooms. Dr. Adam Baker is the Academic Director of Global Engagement at Swinburne University of Technology. He's a triple award-winning educator, former group marketing director, and a PhD holder in education, someone who understands not just what students need to learn, but why they need to learn. In this conversation, we want to explore why education needs to evolve with industry, how Gen Z should choose a degree that aligns with who they are, and what the future of branding, behavior, and belonging means for your career. Whether you're about to choose a program or reimagine your path, this one is for you. Let's go off the syllabus with Dr. Adam Baker. Brand you'd never break up with.
When I was growing up, I was passionate about football, soccer, still am. And so the original manufacturers of football boots, Adidas and Puma, are brands that have torn at my heart forever, tugged at my heart maybe forever. So, and there's a lovely story because they were brothers. There were two brothers that fell out and started two companies. So from a marketing perspective, it's a really interesting story, but I'd have to say those classic German brands talk to my heart.
So you played soccer in your school?
I did. Every hour that God sent me, I played soccer.
Is this the Australian one or the one that we played here?
The real one.
The real
the one that Doha hosted in 2022.
And have you ever bought something just for the packaging?
I don't think so. I thought it was an interesting question that you posed, but I can't think of that. However, I'm a little bit seduced by aesthetics. So a beautifully designed car, maybe an Alfa Romeo or something like that.
Okay.
I badly want to, run my hands over the bodywork because it's so beautiful. I think that's the closest I could come.
What do you drive, Doctor?
At the moment,
a
Volkswagen, which doesn't have curves that you want to run your hands over at all.
But you seem to be having a thing for the European brands.
Absolutely, yeah, that's right. I do. I have a soft spot for European brands.
And in your opinion, the most iconic brand of all time?
It hurts me to say it, but I would say CocaCola. I think for a substance that is not really very useful to the human species, and the fact that they have made this multi-billion-dollar industry out of something that some people would argue that's not particularly good for you, says something about the ability for some humans to be persuading of other humans of how to live their life. So I say, I've got to take my hat off to Coca-Cola and what they've done with a very ordinary substance, in my opinion.
Yeah, in terms of the brand.
So powerful. So powerful.
What's their market share like? Have you got any idea of their market share?
Well, they're certainly number one in the world, aren't they? I remember I was traveling in Africa and on safari, and there was nothing around. It was on the Serengeti, and we came over a hump, and we were looking for the big five elephants, etc. Came over there, and there was a little shack in the middle of the Serengeti, and on the side of it said, "Enjoy Coca-Cola." And I thought, this is market reach, right?
Yeah, that says about it, right? Yeah. And Doctor, if I'm to ask, if you were a brand, what's your tagline?
I guess this is aspirational, so I don't know that I always reach these standards, but my mother was a really kind person, and I think something that I would love somebody to say about me that in the end only kindness matters. And I think if we can be kinder to each other, that would be a wonderful day in human history. So I'd like to live by that, but I don't always get there.
Is this one of the reasons why you are in education?
Absolutely. The big reason, you're quite right.
It's more on the purpose.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when I moved away from commerce, my pay cut to move into academia, my pay was 50% when I moved into there. So you've got to want to do something, right? Yeah.
Not many of us will do it.
No, that's right. I think I was partially mad, but I did it, and it's worked out really well for me.
Well, Doctor, you've seen all the generations, the Gen X to Gen Y to the millennials to the Gen Zs, and now soon alphas. We are all talking about Gen Zs, right? And what's one Gen Z trend that totally fascinates you?
Fascinates and worries, I would say, simultaneously. So the children's author, Dr. Seuss, has written a lot of children's books, Green Eggs and Ham rhyming books for children. And I remember one of his quotes was that we've taught you that the sky is blue, that red and white make pink, but most importantly at all, we've taught you how to think. And I think the role of university is to try and help students develop their critical faculty, their thinking. And I worry that a student or anybody, when they have a challenge of coming up with a creative idea, that they may go for AI as the first move. And that worries me because I worry about how it may stifle our creativity in some ways. So yeah, that's something that it'll be interesting to see how this thing resolves.
So if I'm right to say, it sort of fascinates you how the Gen Zs, they're embracing technology, and in the long run how it's actually not helping them also. Is that what you...
Yeah, that I think it's a two-edged sword, that I think, it's remarkable in terms of productivity and those sort of things, but I worry that it may stop us challenging issues with our own creativity and what we've built within ourselves. So I think very much a two-edged sword. But, this thing is with us and it will be with us. And so as educators, we need to work with that. And I think part of our job at Swinburne University is to help people develop skills in that area and the ethical use of AI as well.
Thank you for that. This one I love to hear this from you. Guilty pleasure you never regret buying.
Okay, could you explain a little bit more?
As in, is there anything that that you do for yourself that you don't regret, or
that I don't regret?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say this, speaking here sort of on behalf of Swinburne, but education has been the most remarkable transformative force in my life. And I think as we meet students here in Doha, what a privilege to be talking to students and helping them, guide their career as they go through. So I think every step of the way education has been with me. I've had 3 different types of careers, and each time education has helped me become competent in that new field and an expert to a certain extent in each of those fields. So the transformative power of education, it's the most powerful thing in the world to me, anyway.
On the other side, if I'm to ask you, if you are to spend money on something, something that you will spend without thinking, what would it be? Because you must be traveling a lot, you must be having a hobby somewhere.
Yeah.
And something that...
Yeah, I think, I like to be passionate about things. I think in life it's important to be passionate about what you do for a job, but also what you do in your spare time as well. And I'm a very keen sailor, so I race yachts in my spare time. And the sound that a yacht makes when it starts to move away from the pier or the wharf, and you start hearing that sound under the forefoot, just, you know, sort of as the boat picks up speed, is the most comforting sound that I know. And I love the peace and calmness that sailing brings to me. You know, I'd say to anybody that's listening to this, you know, try sailing because it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can just imagine when you say I can hear the sounds.
Yeah.
Can even picture, yes.
Yes.
One book you'd sneak into every student's backpack.
I like books that teach me things. So I'd say the quite recent book, which is called Sapiens, and it's by Yuval Harari, but it's about where humans come from. And if you want to learn about us as humans, you've got to read Sapiens. It's also available on podcasts, so you can listen to it in the car, on the train, or on the bus. Everybody should listen to Sapiens because it teaches us how and why we're here and why we do what we do. So this is a remarkable piece of work. Please, please read Sapiens.
Is it more on the values, is it?
I think it's just historical context of how we became where we are today. Yeah, but it covers civilization right from day one through to where we are now. It's a remarkable piece of work.
So if you'd like to read, you know what to read now. Last one, Doctor.
Yes.
Branding or behavior? Which one drives decision in the long run?
I would have to say I'm a marketer by trade. It was what I used to do in commerce. And I would say it depends how gullible the consumer is. I've always been a believer that you should make up your own mind. So in a weird way, I'm not as seduced by branding as I should be. I'm not as very convinced by branding. I want to see the substance.
Because you're trained that way.
Because I'm trained out of being, sort of taken in by brands. You know, I don't believe brands. I need to dig deeper into it.
How do you see, I mean, brands in the past versus brands now? How does this generation is taking up brands?
Yeah. I think one of the most important things is that brands nowadays have to be genuine, in that the consumer is so savvy, they see through just a mere sales pitch. And I think one thing that I really like about Swinburne University is that I think they're genuine about international education. We've been doing it for 25 years and are committed to it. My team, you know, they care about the students that are going to be here in Doha and in Vietnam and in Malaysia. They genuinely care about those students going through. And to me, that feeling of authenticity and being genuine about what you're doing and not just selling another widget. Yeah. If you're not that way, I think you're going to be found out.
It's basically, you have to live by the brand.
That's right. And if you're not honest and have your hand on your heart while you're in business, I think you're in trouble these days.
Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed that round. See you on the other side.
Round two coming up.
Round two coming up. The real lessons, Doctor. So in this session, we will look at your personal journey. Let's get into some deep insights, and the whole idea is thought-provoking. Get people to think. So, with your wide experience from boardroom to the classroom, how you've transitioned and what lessons are there for us to learn from them. So going in, let me ask you the first question. You've transitioned from running international companies to shaping classrooms. What made you pivot? And how has that shaped your teaching philosophy?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it was quite a big decision for me to leave commerce. It's very well paid, it sort of strokes your ego to a certain extent. But I guess, you know, ultimately business is about things like revenue and profitability. And I guess I got to the age where I was frankly sick of making somebody else rich. I didn't have shares in the company, silly me perhaps, but I was basically there to make somebody else rich, and they did very, very well out of my work. And I just thought that there must be more to life than doing this. And so I was working as general manager in a big multinational company. And so on Monday nights, I used to get in my car and go across to Auckland University, because I got a little gig as a lecturer teaching strategy on a Monday night, because no other academic wanted to work on Monday night at all. But I did, because I was just testing what this thing was like. And I used to go over there, and this used to be the highlight of my week. I loved going over there. I was teaching in an MBA, teaching strategy, and I thought to myself, I want to make this career. This feels really that I can make a difference to all those people. Very, very fulfilling with me. And so I changed everything. I changed my country, I changed my career, came over to Australia, and tried to create myself as an academic.
Wow. So you've led curriculum design, you've digital learning reforms, quality assurance across major universities. What's broken in higher education today that students should be aware of? And how is Swinburne and BUC doing it differently?
Yeah. I saw a survey of CEOs recently, and what those CEOs were saying was that many, many people who are graduating from universities weren't ready to enter the workforce, that they didn't have the skills to be able to participate from day one. And what I love about Swinburne and Barzan University College is that in our DNA is this idea of work integrated learning, that we're preparing our students to be able to leave us with their Swinburne degree, and on day one be able to start in a workforce and make a meaningful contribution. So I love the fact that all of our programs, in fact we guarantee work integrated learning in every one of our programs, whether it be a guest speaker or whether it be the higher end, an internship where you're working in a company. We guarantee these experiences in our degrees. And I think that's exactly what universities should be doing, pushing down the walls of university and sort of letting the real world flood in. And we shouldn't be scared of that, and we should get our students ready for having a wonderful career from day one.
I think this is what the Gen Z is also looking at, right? I mean, Gen Zs, they want experiences, they want to explore, and I think work integrated learning will give them that experience, right? That exposure at a very young stage.
Yes,
Isn't it?
yes, absolutely.
From your industry experience, what's one lesson students can't learn from and textbook, but absolutely need before entering the workforce?
Yeah, I think, we talk a lot about soft skills. And I talked about my fear of presenting in public when I was at school.
Yes.
And it's funny, isn't it, how your career and life changes. But I'm really keen that students will leave us at Barzan and have those presentation skills or skills in a meeting, the confidence to speak up. So I think a lot of what we do involves teamwork, presenting and these sort of things. So once again, when they get into the workforce, they're ready to participate and confident enough to be able to do that. Unlike myself when I started out, because I was grossly underprepared to be able to talk up in public. But I know that you can learn these skills and be better at them. So I'd say presentation skills. And I think our students get a lot of this type of preparation work in our degrees.
So in our conversations with industries, something that has been coming up a lot is two words: transferable skills, soft skills. in layman terms, what are transferable skills? What are soft skills?
Yeah. Well, I think the worrying thing is that we don't know what the jobs of the future are going to be, and technology has meant that we're not really sure what we're going to have as a job. So we need things in our toolbox as people. That means that we're going to move into areas that we haven't even heard of yet.
Yeah.
So what can we put in that toolbox that's going to be everlasting for us for a career? And so when we talk about soft skills or transferable skills, I think there are things in there that are going to sit with us. So really a high confidence with technology. And of course, Swinburne University of Technology, it's in our name in a way. So no matter what, whether you're studying business or even computer science or engineering, you'll find that built into these courses, technology is the center. So a confidence with technology. I think that's a real transferable skill. I think some of the areas that we've talked about, interpersonal skills, the fact that you and I are sitting here chatting in a way and learning from each other, I think these skills are very, very important as well in students. And so I think those interpersonal skills I would rate very highly too.
So you've taught everything from international marketing to strategy. If a student says, I don't know what to study, how do you guide them to align education with purpose?
Wow, that's a big question. What I would say to students is this.
Would you like to sort of break it down into maybe 3 questions?
Yeah, thank you. I think I will. So I think what we do is put too much expectation on students. And what we do is we say to them when they get to about the age of 18, we grab them by their shoulders and we shake them and say, what are you going to be when you grow up? You know, what are you going to be when you grow up? And very often the person doesn't know the answer to that. So what I would say is that the wonderful thing about education is that you can change course. So bear in mind that the decision you make today, you should try and make it with the best possible understanding of things, but know that this decision, there'll be many other decisions, and this is not for good, this is not for keeps. So depower the importance of that big decision that you make. Just try and make the best decision you can, knowing that either at university or later in our careers, they'll be able to change direction. It's not forever. So reduce this pressure on yourself of having to make this one big decision for life, because that's not how life works.
I think unlike 10, 20 years ago, now students are also spoiled for choices, right? And we tell them this, I don't know whether it's the right word, they say this generation is entitled, and they say this generation is after materialistic stuff. So how do they make decisions, and there's also a lot of peer pressure, right? You do well in your 10th grade, you do well in your 12th grade, and then you're supposed to be making a decision on your own about what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I think we're a long time working, you know. I've been in the workforce for many, many decades, and I think it's vitally important that we can work with passion in our careers. And I've seen it with you in what you're doing here. I can see your passion in creating this thing, helping to create this thing called Barzan University College, and make a mark, with that brand here in Doha. So I think it's really important to find something in life that you can do with passion, to not worry so much about the salary. As I said to you, I had to take a salary cut of half to move into education when I did it, but I haven't had one day of regret over that, because this doesn't feel like work to me. Education doesn't feel like work to me. So I think try and find that thing that you can do with passion, because there'll always be a job in that area, and if you can perform with passion, it will keep you going for your entire working life.
True that, yes. See, something that we've been telling students is, or something that I think I understood at a very early stage of my career is, I think two things matters. One, your skill set. Two, your interest. If you can find a match between these two, your skills are great and you also have the interest on the same space, you're on the right track.
Yep, I think so. Just to that, I've got two daughters that have gone through university now, and I remember at the age of about 16 or 17, we actually took them and did a
Psychometric
profile,
Okay.
psychometric testing. You've got the words better than I have, because people were saying to them, "What are you going to do?" You know, and they didn't have any idea. What I would say to people that are listening to this was, think about that, because it shows you what your core skills are and your basic nature is. And indeed, the things that came up in that profile were careers that they found themselves in. So one has turned herself into a primary school teacher, exceptional skills in that area. As you can tell, I'm very proud of my daughters. And another one, she turned herself into a psychologist. But both of those were skills that were high in the top 5 on this profile that they did. So I think in Australia, a few $100s, you can do this, and it's money well spent. So if any parents are listening to this, perhaps that would help with that choice of decisions of what I'm going to do when I grow up.
Yeah.
It helps. It helps.
I think especially in this generation, it's very important. I think as parents, I'm also raising an alpha at home. I've actually got 3. So I think as parents, I think it's very important for us to understand, we think becoming a doctor or becoming an engineer is a career, and we don't want to believe that if they want to become a chef or something on that lines, it's mediocre. It's not really that, right? It's about finding their purpose. It's about finding their space that they will enjoy their life in it.
Yeah, that's right. I think perhaps the most important thing is to try and find happiness as adults. You know, these are pretty big issues that we're talking about now. But if you can find a bit of happiness in your career, you know, I've been talking to students that are looking at where they're going to study, and it's a privilege to talk to them and to talk about what their aspirations may be, and to see their parents as well. But I think if you can find little areas of happiness in your career, as well as your time outside your career, you know, this helps you through life.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I think with that we conclude stage 2, the in-depth dialogue. See you on the other side with stage 3, future focus.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are entering the last phase of our discussion. This is the bit that I think parents would like to hear. Future focus, advice for the next generation. Let's get into the discussion. My first question: you meet a student unsure about their future. What's the first thing you'd ask them, and why?
Well, I think in the last segment we sort of answered this in some way, in that I just try and find out those sort of things that they like to do with passion. My partner's son didn't know what he was going to do, but he's been doing a little bit of DJing work.
Wow.
So he spins the vinyl, you know, and he decided that he was going to do a degree in sound engineering. And I've seen engagement like I've never seen from him before, because he loves what he's doing. He's, as part of his degrees, having bands coming in, and he's recording them playing, and he spends hours and hours in his bedroom making quite remarkable sounding jazz bands. and he's 18, you know.
Wow.
Such remarkable skills. So I'd say, you know, I always start with, what do you like doing? What areas do you like? Do you like numbers? Do you like words? and try and find areas of passion initially to see if we can tease those out in some study or in a career or in a degree.
I think these are long one-to-one personal discussions, right, where we will have to spend time with the students and the parents to understanding. So who you think who is in a better position to work with a child? I mean, is it the parent or is it third party someone? Or?
Yeah, I think, I'm a parent myself as you are, and it's very difficult to not live your life vicariously through your children, to put them into areas that you think are appropriate for them. But I think, there's an English phrase, isn't there? You can't put a square peg in a round hole. So I think as parents, we've also got an obligation to try and understand what motivates our children and what areas they're passionate about. And even though we'd love them to be an engineer and follow in our footsteps, we've got to resist that to a certain extent and show them a whole rich tapestry of what they could be in life in a way. Now it could be that they follow a similar path to ourselves. I've got a primary school teacher, so obviously there's something about teaching in our genes perhaps. And I don't deny that, but I think we've just got to be open to our interests of our children and be supportive no matter what they choose to do.
I think that's a very valid point. Open to their interests and support them in their journey. Yeah. This one I was waiting to ask this question from you. If you were 18 again, what skill would you immediately start building? With all this, talks about the fifth, 5Gs to the fifth, sixth industrial revolution, what AI is doing. What skill that you would start building if you are 18 today?
Yeah, I think my answer hasn't got anything to do with technology or AI. I think the most important thing we can do for our children is build confidence in them. I was very inconfident when I was in my teenage years. I was an awful teenager, awful. And I've talked about my fear of public speaking in that area. And I wish I hadn't had that fear. So I would say to any parents, what can we do to build the confidence of our students, to know of our children, to not be very critical of what they do, to be supportive of them, to praise them, when they do something well, because I think if our children can go forward with confidence in themselves. I wish I'd have had that when I was 16 and 17-year-old, and to be brave enough to try new things. I would have been a completely different teenager in lots of ways. So anything we can do to build confidence in our students, to help them to be good at drama or sport, so they can build confidence. And I used to say to my daughters, we used to have a whole pile of things, and they would say to me, Dad, I'm really scared, I'm joining this new soccer team. And I would say to them, let's think about all the things that you've done in your life that have worked out well, because all those things should make you realize that this new thing that you're scared of, you're actually going to succeed at. And of course it worked out in that way. So to let past experiences be an indicator of future confidence.
Can I also add to that comparison and creating unnecessary competition?
Yeah, quite unhealthy, right? I guess that's where you're coming from. Yeah, that's right. Everybody's an individual. It's a trite thing to say, isn't it? But everybody has internal skills and internal drives and wants and needs. And if we fight too much against them, it's going to end badly in the end, I think.
Yeah, not everybody will be good in math. Likewise, not everyone will be good in arts. But world needs both of them. I remember I studied pure mathematics for 2 years at university, and I hated it.
and I shouldn't have been doing
I'm
it.
with you on that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I think, you can't perform with passion in any way in your career or things you do in your private life if you can't get a snippet of joy out of what you're doing.
Right. Next one, Doctor. We live in a world of AI, personalization, and endless scrolling. How will branding and by extension career success look different in 10 years?
Yeah.
Or is 10 years too long? Should I say 5 years?
Perhaps. I think each of us individually needs to sort of question what we do. And I'm not sure whether it's brands or whether it's marketers or big tech, but people have tapped into our psyche and know that our phones are something that we can be glued to. But I think we've got to question everything we do. And if I find myself doom scrolling for too long, I try and resist it. It doesn't always work,
So it happens to you also?
It does. And then I think to myself, what has this given me? What has this half an hour given me? And I try and, break out of that and do something that's a bit more productive. But it's for each and every one of us, I think, to challenge the things that we do, even though we're sort of hardwired into screens. Is this a good use of our time, or can we do something better? Would be reading the book Sapiens or listening to a podcast about the origins of humans, which would be great conversation for us, at any stage in our life. So I think we've just got to question how we spend our time, and is that a productive use of our time?
So you are in all social channels? You use all social media?
I try not to. I try to limit my time in that area, and I'm really not very good at hero worship. So this concept of following somebody, I'm not very good at hero worshipping, and the fact that somebody should set themselves up as an influencer, I find offensive when they're uneducated, unskilled in the field, and they're trying to tell me how I should live my life in some way. I rebel against that. The idea of influencer doesn't sit well with me in a way. I think become your own influencer and have control over your own destiny. Make it up for yourself, be well read in these areas, because what are the credentials of some of these people telling us how to live our lives?
If I'm to ask you, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok or LinkedIn, which one you choose? Or which one you're active on?
Yeah, I would say a limited amount of activity in each of them, but I'm a voracious, eclectic reader, both online and in physical books. And I think that served me quite well.
To the parents listening, what's your advice if their child doesn't want to be a doctor, engineer or an accountant, but wants to create something? What's your advice to them?
I would say take heed of what your child, your son or daughter is saying to you, and be supportive of them regardless, and try and help them. We talked about psychometric testing, talking to people that, in the university situation about what they advise, exposing them to a range of careers and things that might appeal to them. I think that's the best thing they can do for their children, and be open to those things that really drive their son or daughter and their real interests, because without passion you have nothing.
Complete this sentence. In 2035,
okay.
So in 2035, success will belong to those who?
Deep down, I'm a strategist. That's what I used to teach, and it's something that I really believe in. So I think most people who are in their teenage years, early 20s, would benefit by having a plan. So I say to intending students all the time, have a plan. It doesn't matter what it is. It may be to be a plumber. It may be to be an electrician. It may be to work in AI. It may be to go and get a degree in something and become a doctor. but have a plan and have a goal and then work to that goal. I think personal goal setting has served me really, really well. And my first qualification was a humble New Zealand certificate. You know, it's right down here. And then I did a diploma and I thought, I can do this. And then I sort of went on and did undergraduate studies. And I thought, I can do this. And then I went on to a master's and thought, I can do this. And then bizarrely, I went and got a PhD and wrote 100,000 words and became a doctor. But each of those steps gave me a degree of confidence in what I could do. So I'd say to people that are listening to this and people in maybe those teenage years, just coming out of school, 20s, you know, aim high, because you never know what your potential is. Reach for the stars, because you can be whatever you want. And I think in my area, you know, I've proved that you can work yourself and inch your way up and do something you're very proud of. And go on that stage and wear that funny shaped hat and shake hands with the Vice Chancellor and have your perhaps Swinburne University testimony. It'll be the proudest day of your life. So it's worth striving for these bigger goals, I would say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doctor. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Pleasure having you in the show.
Yeah, and great. Thank you very much. I very much enjoyed it. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Adam Baker, and I'm very proud to be the Academic Director in Global Engagement at Swinburne University. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about my background in terms of having this role now. I guess I discovered universities very late on in life. I come from what they call a first-in-family university. My parents, the first time they came on a university campus was when they came to see me graduate. And I think in a way, education has been something that's been very, very important to me in my life. I've sort of had 3 different careers. I left school, and like many students, I didn't know what I was going to do when I grew up. I had no idea. But I knew I loved yachting and sailing. And so I found a job as a hydrographic cartographer. So I drew and designed maps. And it suited me quite well because I was a man of the sea. I've been sailing for many, many years. And so I did that for a chunk of time. And I realized that I wanted to be qualified in that thing called cartography. So I did a very, very humble New Zealand certificate in design. And it was my first foray into qualifications. Because I was involved in a club, somebody approached me and said, "You've got a few ideas about marketing. Do you want to come and join my brand new startup company and be involved in marketing? Because I think you've got some ideas here." And I said, "You can't employ me. I don't know anything about marketing." And he said, "No, I've seen what you've done in this club. Come and join me." So I did. And I remember on the first day of starting work, I didn't know how to pronounce advertisement, and I called it advertisement instead of advertisement or ad. And so I got told off on my very first day in the job for not being able to say the thing I was meant to be an expert in. But once again, I thought to myself, if I'm going to have any credibility as a marketer, I need to get credentialed in this area. And so I started and did a diploma in business. And then I went on in and did undergraduate studies in business and became qualified in marketing. And I found, remarkably, that I could do this thing called study. And really, I wasn't brilliant, but I knew what I'd got in spades was resilience. And for anybody watching this, you don't need to be able to be remarkable. You don't need to have a high IQ to get a degree. But what you do need is a remarkable ability to keep going, even though you don't want to do that assignment. And I think that's what I had, an ability to be resilient. And then because I wasn't satisfied with undergraduate studies, I did a master's in the area. And because of that, was promoted into senior management and general management in the company I was working for. One day I was sick of making somebody else rich, and I decided to throw it all in. And because I'd been teaching a bit in my spare time, I thought, I love this. I love this thing called education, and I want to be part of it. So I decided that I was going to turn myself into an academic. I moved countries and I changed my career really overnight. I think in English they call it a sea change. They either call it that or insanity, one or the other. And I came over to Australia and I wrote to all these universities and said to them, look at my glittering career in commerce, please hire me as a lecturer. And they asked me really difficult questions. They asked me two questions. They said, where's your PhD? And I said, I've got a master's. And they said, no, Adam, where's your PhD? And I said, oh, I don't have one of those. And they also said, where's your A-star journal papers? And I said to them, what's an A-star journal paper? I'd never heard of one of these before. And I realized that the master strategist, which I'd done so well at in commerce, had completely stuffed it up and realized that I hadn't understood what the passports were to an academic life. And the passports were to publish and to get a PhD. So I was lucky enough to find a small Australian university and said, you sound interesting, come and have a coffee with us. And so what I did was I started out on the route to have a PhD. Once again, I think it was only my resilience, not my brilliance, but my resilience that got me through. And after 5 years working full-time in university and studying at the same time, I got a PhD. And my parents, for the first time, came on campus and saw me cross the stage and shook hands with the Vice-Chancellor and took my doctorate. And it made me very proud of what I've been able to do. So I think, there's a few lessons in this which took me decades to understand. Firstly, you don't have to be brilliant, but resilience, keeping going when the odds are against you, are really important. Secondly, that you don't know what you're capable of until you try. So I'd say to anybody there, shoot for the stars, because you're capable for the most remarkable career and the most remarkable thing, and all you need to do is aim for that and work out your plan to get there. Thank you. It's been an interesting life, and it's been my privilege to be involved in education for nearly 2 decades now, and to be involved in this creation of Swinburne University and Barzan University in Doha. What a privilege to be able to take Australian education to the world.
And that was Off the Syllabus with Dr. Adam Baker. A reminder that the future doesn't belong to those who study hard. It belongs to those who learn deeply, live curiously, and choose boldly. If something in today's episode sparked a new idea, share it with a friend, tag us online, or better yet, start a conversation that goes off the syllabus in your own life. Don't forget to follow, rate, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Catch you in the next episode, where we meet another mind shaping tomorrow's world, one choice at a time. Stay curious, stay open, and stay off the syllabus.